What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Chris, as always with me,
Liam.
And today we are diving back into Handmaid's Tale, Season 2, Episode 8.
Yes.
All right, I got it right. If you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome. If you're tuning back in with us, welcome back. We are a show about shows. We don't pretend to be experts. We did watch all of Season 6 together, and that's why we're going back through. A little bit of an experiment. I had never watched any of Seasons 1 through 5 and jumped in blind with you guys, and it was a great experience. And so with you, now we're going back. So if you're with us on that journey, welcome back. We'll see you in the comments in just a bit. You already know how this works. But if you're tuning in for the first time, hit the like button to let us know that you enjoyed this video. Hit subscribe so you can join us on this journey, and then join us down in the comments with your opinions, whether you agree, disagree, whatever it may be. We love to chat with you. The only thing we ask is that you don't spoil anything that's going to happen. All right. So anything that's going to happen in the rest of Season 2, 3, 4, 5, let's leave that alone for now and just experience it together. That's all we say. But other than that, let's dive right in.
Yeah. So Fred's coming home at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, you know, the beginning of this episode was interesting to me because when I joined this experience with you guys, there was so much hate for Serena. And I'm sure that we have, many more seasons to go where this hate will build. But in this episode, isolated and solo, I thought Serena was awesome. She was boss lady. Her and June together, tag team boss lady, the whole beginning of this episode. And I thought that was a really cool representation. And there were multiple times in this episode where Serena went out of her way to show June compassion. It wasn't until Fred, brutally whipped her and put her in her place again in Gilead's mind, back to the subservient wife, that she actually started to hurt people. I've said it a million times. Fred hurt her, so now she's hurting June. Do I agree that ultimately Serena is evil? Yes. But if I were to watch just this episode by itself, I would say that she's just a hurt person and she's trying to actually make a better world, better place, do better for people. But I know better.
Did you notice how, because when she's getting whipped by the belt, he makes June stop and watch the whole time. But after that scene when Serena's undressing in pain because of how badly she just got whipped by the belt, June comes up outside the door and looking to help her. And she's being proper too with the Mrs. Waterford. And then she changes her tune to, Serena, is there anything I can do for you? And you saw on Serena's face that she wanted to say yes. Yeah. She wanted to collaborate. This is what I was alluding to before, when I would have loved to see them become united in their mission together.
Fred ensures it doesn't happen.
Yes.
Yeah. Because logically, if you were to look at it, put yourself in Serena's shoes for half a second, right? Just for the sake of argument. If you had just had a sense of control and power for maybe, a week or two while Fred was in the hospital, and the person who helped you along the way just witnessed you get brutally attacked, right? Your perception, your shame, your guilt is automatically going to be like that. Let's go back to the way things were, because now at least I have control over how you can perceive me, rather than, because the whole thing, I'm looking at it from a psychological perspective, and it reads out like 1, 2, 3. It really does. When it comes to the way the dynamic starts and they're together and it's a power dynamic and they're working well together and everything's flowing and things are good as it can be in this household inside of Gilead. And then Fred reintroduces that control when he realizes he truly loses it. Because at first, that was one thing I did want to talk about, is I thought he was going to be pissed that Serena was doing it regardless, just bottom line. The fact that she was doing these things was going to piss him off. But no, he actually was supportive of this. He liked the idea that she was backing him even though he couldn't do it himself. It wasn't until she went against his will, because he had already said, no, we're not doing this, and then she went behind his back and did it anyway, that he laid down the law and then broke that power back up.
Yes, and that's all because June found out about baby Angela from Janine in the supermarket, and Emily lost her shit in there. Like, rah, support the bombs, bomb more, rebellion, let's go. But Janine, and then the other one was like, I heard from a Martha that it was your baby.
Well, June finds out from Serena. So June is very privy to this information well before she makes it to the market. Yeah. And then has to console Janine and, reassure her based on the information that the other very incompassionate handmaid just shouts or uses against her at the market.
I don't think it was used against her in malice. I think it was more caught up in the gossip.
Okay. For some reason, there's a couple of the handmaids, and they're they don't really have names. These particular handmaids are kind of like background characters, but they have like these one-liners where I'll have to go back and find another instance of this where it's just like a dig. That's all it is them saying one thing to like dig into June or dig into Janine or Emily for a case. Yeah.
And then when they're leaving the market, Janine, a complete wreck. June keeps attempting to console, and the guards keep stepping in. She's like, no, I got this. I was like, ooh, yeah, let's go. All right.
Also very conflicted by that. Since when did the Guardians listen to handmaids?
They don't.
So why are they respecting June?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was a little off to me. Again, I could push it aside and say that like they'd rather not hit a handmaid because they are, the vessel that they use.
She's also pregnant.
June is, but Janine's not, and Janine's the one freaking out. So I don't see why he wouldn't. In a world where I've already seen brutality against these women, why he wouldn't just turn around and smack her or hit her with his rifle or do something to like, in his mind, shock her out of it.
I feel like they allude to this with the doctor when he's excited to see the specialist. He breaks character of normal Gilead and is just excited that he gets to be around this person again.
Yeah.
So I feel like some of these people that we keep coming across, Guardians, still have their humanity and still decent people just stuck in a fucked up situation.
That's a fair point, and I think further proof of that is the exact thing with the doctor. There was 2 Guardians that brought her through the back door into the hospital. So they had to be privy to it, or at least okay with the fact that they're allowing a woman to work. Like they knew what they were doing.
Oh, they're following orders.
I mean, secret orders that are breaking laws, and they were okay with it. So
we see that all the time, though.
Yeah.
What I wanted before we move past the whole Janine and June thing, when they're out and she's freaking out, when Janine turns around and says, "You sound just like them."
Yeah.
I didn't want to overlook that one. I wanted to make sure I got that in there. But that was a very important line because you saw how much pain June felt on her face when she got called out on that. And it is true. She's gotten quite comfortable with Serena, as we were talking about, with their work together. I feel like it's a shared secret where she gets to have a taste of her old life again.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so addictive and seductive to her.
Yeah. And then it gets all taken away again.
So yeah, the baby is like the specialist comes in, as you talked about, like Serena went behind Fred's to get the specialist in to help the baby after getting Janine there and showing that there's no signs of improvement in the baby.
Well, before we go all the way there, I think there's something important. June is a master at manipulation.
Yes.
And rightfully so, because she's put in a situation where that's the only tool she has. She's not physically strong if she tries to run or rebel or do anything. So she only has her wits about her. And so she's the one who plants the seed in Serena to do this. I think it's important to bring that up. Like, June was manipulating Serena from the start. She was like, well, there is a woman who can do it. And then Serena's kind of like, oh. And then obviously they have to break the law. Fred says no. They're both upset about it in the kitchen.
I don't think that's how that went. She convinces Serena to look for alternative stuff, and Serena's the one who suggested the woman.
Okay. She plants the seed for her.
Yes.
And then allows her to come up with the conclusion herself, which,
still
in ownership, someone will literally take that to the grave because they own it now. So that's master of manipulation. Well done, June.
Yeah. Janine, June, and Serena are all there to see baby Angela. And while they're there, Janine's a wreck. But before they even get to that point, Serena's talking to, what's their name? That family, the parents now.
The Warrens?
Warrens, yes. The Warrens. She goes up to the wife and she's like, I don't know how I feel about this crazy woman. They
never liked her.
They talk to the husband and he's like, I can't see what harm he'd really do at this point.
Yeah, he already lost a hand for all the blowjobs he got. So at this point,
and
he's just like, let it happen.
Poor Janine is like, I love my new household. It's just because she said this in the market also, right? She's like, I love my new household. It's just the sex ceremony without the blowjobs.
Which is another example of the unnamed handmaid who comes in with the jab. And she's like, rape is never fun, or whatever she said to her.
That was Emily.
Oh, was it?
I thought that was Emily, because Emily's losing her shit. She's back here and she's losing her shit right now.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't.
Having a crisis.
Sometimes they're moving, there's so many of them, they're moving with those wings on. It's like, and she kind of, because I remember Emily being across from her when she loses her shit. So maybe she walks past her and then starts talking.
She walks around, yeah. This is another reason why everyone loves both Emily and Janine.
Well,
for different reasons.
Yeah, well, Janine's your representation of innocence. And in this episode, her dynamic with the baby was phenomenal. emotional, and I'm sure we'll get there. And then you have Emily, who's like the will to resist, the will to persist, the will to be oneself, which is awesome to see. But it's also the thing that, anytime you want to go against whatever the, norm is, you're going to have resistance. And as we see, resistance for them is violence.
I feel like this is like that Pixar movie about the emotions personified. Was that one?
Inside Out?
Inside Out, yeah.
Phenomenal movie.
That's why I felt like this episode was like, because you've got the jealousy, the hatred, and all the emotions in between, and you have all that in this episode. You have like every set of emotions. If we sat down and wrote it out, I'm sure we can come up with a character who displayed it perfectly for this specific episode alone.
Yeah, be a fun exercise if you want to. Let us know in the comments. The thing I took away from this episode, because you had mentioned, like, when we first were turning on all the equipment and getting ready to go, you said, like, what do you say? This is an interesting one or a strange one? Or
yeah.
And I was like, we're going to have to talk about that because I don't know what you mean. So what did you mean?
I was talking about the dynamic between Serena and June for you to see for the first time, like at this level of camaraderie that they shared and shared goals.
Yeah.
Because June completely just went full in to help her.
June's not a bad person.
I know.
June wants, Karen wants better.
But it was reciprocated.
Yeah.
It was reciprocated.
June also, I wouldn't say she's a woman of faith, but she also is a woman who believes in like the values that someone of faith would. High integrity, honor, respect, loyalty. And so even though the person in front of her has been nothing but evil to her. And I wouldn't say nothing, but mostly evil to her. When it's her turn to show who she is, she shows who she is. She doesn't stoop down and do what they do.
I have gotten this compliment over and over, I guess, from students that I've had that are pastors and stuff like that. And they've all told me the same thing. For someone who claims to not be religious, they've told me that I embody more Christian values than a lot of Christians. And so I always take that as like a badge of honor kind of thing for me.
You don't have to be religious to be a good person.
Yeah, I know.
That's really what the values are, is just making you a good person.
I was bringing that up because you brought that up about June.
Yeah.
So that I was just making the personal connection for me, showing that I understood that.
The minute I was confirmed in the Catholic Church was the very minute I stopped. No joke. And I don't need to be in a church to have religion or have faith. That's why I think, even though Gilead has perverted faith and religion, there are still those inside of this society like June and others who truly do believe in a faith that is just and true and creates good people. We're just dealing with a universe where people have perverted it and they're not really good.
The extremist version.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. One thing I really want to talk about, which is like one of the biggest parts of this episode for me, was how a mother's love and just a mother's touch, that love of care, can bring, is sustenance to a baby. I don't know exactly what was wrong with the baby, as it was very hush whisper.
The doctor even said,
low key,
as she's walking away, like, why Serena went to her, or was it Serena that went to her?
Yeah, Serena threw her in the stairwell.
Yeah, you're supposed to be the best. I am the best.
She accuses her of giving up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she does.
But she says something along the lines of, it just needs loving household.
She does. She says there's nothing. She goes through, she says three different things that are I guess the three different categories they would test for. And she's like, there's no medical explanation for why this is happening. We tested everything. There's no explanation. There's nothing we can do. Just make her happy, let her cuddle up with her mother kind of thing. And so there's a dynamic here that I think is really interesting because, there's adoption, surrogacy, there's all sorts of things that allow a child to grow up without their biological mother in a very caring and nurturing environment. However, what we have seen is Naomi is not that.
No.
She is bitter and she is spiteful and she is evil and she doesn't really care about this baby.
Real quick before you continue, when she had mentioned that she's tested everything, did the thought ever cross your mind as soon as she mentioned that Naomi was poisoning or hurting the baby?
I don't think she was doing that's an interesting theory. I will say that. Not where my mind was going. Neglect was where I was going. She doesn't actually care for the baby. She doesn't have the maternal bond like Janine does. Or
that's what the ceremony is supposed to do, though, right?
For Naomi, it's more of a nuisance.
Yeah.
Right? And we've seen that time and time again. The way she talks about the baby is as if it's a burden, not a privilege. And so my guess is that behind the scenes, although we don't get to see inside of, Naomi and Warren's home very often, she's not holding this baby. She's not, spending time with this baby. This baby is more of a chore, like a thing that she has to do.
She gets mad when the baby whines or cries.
Right. And so she's not giving this baby nurture, care, the things it needs, and that's why the baby is dying. She's just giving it the basics that it needs to survive. And in this world, babies are already so sick and so fragile, that's not enough. And then not even, I mean, obviously it's Hollywood, so we can definitely speed things up, but not even a night after, a couple hours after Janine physically takes the gloves off, takes the mask off, physically touches the baby. Is the baby healthy and happy and ready to go again? And I thought that was, again, Hollywood, so I know they can speed it up, but a very powerful message on just how much nurture is vitamins for a baby. It's not just the milk. It's not just, like the sustenance physically to grow. There's emotional sustenance too. Yeah.
There are two pieces to that scene that I want to talk about real quick. So one of them, I thought because she was, again, haven't seen this a long time. I do remember the scene, but not as vivid. When we're seeing Aunt Lydia wake up, walk over Janine, and she sees her in essentially her underwear holding the baby. I thought, one, she was going to get scolded. I thought she was going to get in a lot of trouble for that.
Yeah.
But two, I want to point out the fact of, again, you got to see the guard down for Aunt Lydia and her just being happy.
Yeah. If the circumstances had been slightly different, she would have been scolded, right? If it had gone the other way, if the baby had not gotten healthier, if the baby had remained sick or maybe even awfully passed away, right? Like that, then yeah, Aunt Lydia probably, we would have saw a very different side of her.
Yes.
I think this is just another nod moving us towards Aunt Lydia season 6, where she treats Janine like a daughter made. And I think this is another one of those things where she's watching in real time, seeing miracles in real time with someone that she has cared for. I don't know that she cares about her yet, but has cared for her, seeing this happen. I think she's getting more and more attached to that.
When June goes to Aunt Lydia to ask permission to have Janine see the baby, Aunt Lydia says, I will hold you personally accountable.
Yeah.
For anything that goes wrong.
That's just par for the course in Aunt Lydia, right? Because we saw her on the riverside telling her everything's her fault. And so it's just more par for the course. Everything's June's fault if June's involved.
Goes, I would too.
Because she's a good person. And
yes.
She does realize that her actions have consequences. Yeah, 100%.
And then we have our first instance. This is the last thing I have. The first instance of Nick losing his shit and acting like a fucking commander.
Eden's going to sleep with Fred. I'm calling it now. But anyway, she is so hungry for the Gilead life that she's not getting from Nick. And Fred is so hungry for something that isn't Serena. I have a feeling that those two are going to form a relationship, if not an intimate one. And that's going to be some sort of downfall. But anyway, because she's getting mad with Nick, she's getting frustrated with Nick, and now she's...
Well, he wants nothing to do with her.
Rightfully so. He's in love with June.
She doesn't understand.
Right. He's in love with June. She doesn't know that. And now she's even fearful of him, right? Because, like you said, he went full, assertive commander on her. Like, don't touch my shit. And at first he was happy, but then he saw the letters and obviously
he
can't have her knowing
he can be killed.
Yeah. I mean, I was sitting there as it was going down, being like, how could he spin this? How could he make this so that if she went and told, well, he is an eye. He does was reporting directly to the commander that was in charge. Now we don't know who's in charge because one got blown up and one got arrested. So I don't know who's actually in charge right now, but he could just be collecting evidence. That's what he could say.
Yeah.
He's like, no, that's just evidence. Boom, done. Yeah.
But did you notice his face once he realized he acted just like the rest?
Yeah.
He freaked himself out. He's like, fuck, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But Eden, again, since we're on her, all the way at the beginning when Fred's coming through the door, and she's just seeking approval. She's a little kid looking to fit in, and she's got no friends. Nobody trusts her, and she's just alone.
Yeah, she ended up in the wrong house. She's a true believer in a house of non-believers.
Yeah.
So she just doesn't fit in.
She even saw the feedback from June, like, do you think he liked my gift? She rolls her eyes. Yeah, I'm sure he loved it.
Yeah, that's why I think Eden's going to go behind everyone's back and end up with Fred, because she's seeking such approval and he's such a weasel that I think that ends up being something that happens.
So I know I said the last thing, but I do just recall something from the scene when June goes later on that night to Fred and she asks for forgiveness. But the whole time Fred was gone, she had a connection with Serena. So she had connection with someone in charge. She lost her connection with Fred as she was severely upset when she's walking away from that door, and she curls up and lays in the compass rose. Compass Rose was beautiful cinematography because it showed the character feeling lost and not connected to a superior in some way where she could have some favor.
It'd be funny if like she started spinning, the camera started spinning. So then like, it'd be like the symbolism of like the compass being can't find its true north, like just constantly spinning. But anyway, yeah, I get what you mean.
I thought that was really cool. I just wanted to draw attention.
I didn't know the exact symbolism of it, but now that you say it, makes sense.
That's what my mind got from it.
You're also Navy, so you probably think naughty way more than I do.
Well, I do love the compass. My dad was Navy and a sailor also, like a sailboat sailor. So I was raised that way.
Right on. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the like button. If you have not already subscribed, go ahead and do so. A little click for you, but greatly helps us. We just hit 37,000 subscribers last night, all because of you guys tuning in. It's been an awesome ride, and I can't wait to continue this journey with you guys. I can't wait to read the comments. If you haven't already commented, go down below, say what's up. Even if this was a great video, we appreciate you guys doing so. And a bunch of videos are going to pop up right here so you can continue your journey with us. We have tons of content. The viewing can never stop. We'll see you there. Peace.
Find the strength hiding in each battle scar. You're not who you were, you've already come far.